So, Tucker Carlson has released a video on his Twitter, or X, as it is now called, talking about how much he cares about the treatment of Christians around the world. Specifically, he talks about the treatment of Christians under Ukraine and Russia. And in so doing this, he reveals what most people suspected all along, that he draws a moral equivalence between the Russian invasion and Ukraine, and acts like he doesn't know who started the war. He has been doing something similar regarding the current war of Israel and Hamas. Let's take a look.
The conflict between Russia and Ukraine, super complicated. I don't think there's an easy answer. I don't think there's a good guy and a bad guy. I don't think it's Churchill versus Hitler. I just don't think that. And the more I learn about it, the more I'm confused. I'm certainly not endorsing Russia. I don't live there either, never been there. But one of the guides that we as Christians should use to assess that situation is, how do Christians fare in those countries? It's totally legitimate to ask that question. Is it easier to be a Christian in Russia or Ukraine? They're forcing us to pick. I mean, I kind of happily live in a world where I don't have to pick. I don't know, they're foreign countries far away. They're not America. I'm not that interested, but they're making us be interested. So now that we're required to be interested and pay for the war, why doesn't some Christian minister stand up and say, is it easier to be a Christian in Ukraine or Russia? One of those countries just arrested a bunch of priests and shut down churches with political police and the army. It wasn't Russia. I raised that question at a Christian gathering, and people scowled at me. Really? They're arresting priests? I don't need to know more, actually. Well, they had bad opinions. Well, okay. So? I have bad opinions. I don't want to be arrested. Bad opinions are not grounds for arrest, sorry. And moreover, the gut-level reaction of Christians to the arrests of Christian clergy should be horror. Period. Period.
Alright, so Tucker makes 2 points, and I will go over both of them. The first and more egregious one is where he just straight up says that they are both equal, and he plays dumb. Tucker Carlson has been covering the news since the early 90s, his first job being a fact checker at Policy Review, ironic, and has been in the media ever since, working for CNN, PBS, MSNBC, and most recently starting in 2016 till he was fired in 2023, he had Tucker Carlson Tonight on Fox News. Him playing dumb is not going to work. He knows exactly how this conflict started, and what better person to explain this to him than Tucker Carlson himself, from his show, Tucker Carlson Tonight, on February 24th, 2022, the first day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Vladimir Putin started this war, so whatever the context of the decision that he made, he did it. He fired the first shots. He is to blame for what we're seeing tonight in Ukraine. The question is, once we've established that, and it's obvious, how should the United States respond to what he has done?
The conflict between Russia and Ukraine, super complicated. I don't think there's an easy answer. I don't think there's a good guy and a bad guy. I don't think it's Churchill versus Hitler. I just don't think that.
Well, Tucker is right. It's not literally Hitler versus Churchill. It's Zelensky versus Putin. And the fact that Tucker used to be able to say Putin started the war and is therefore the bad guy, and now no longer can, makes you think that maybe having a news organization behind him like Fox News actually kept him reined in. Even throughout this whole video, they are playing footage of Russia's bombing of Ukraine. Not something you will ever see Tucker Carlson show on his current Twitter show. But without a news organization trying to balance him out, he can now say what he truly feels. In this next video from 2019, Tucker says he is rooting for Russia over Ukraine, and then retracts his statement at the end of the show. It seems Fox News made him do this, but this is what he truly feels. He is indeed taking Russia's side, and people should have believed him when he said it in 2019, 3 years before the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine.
So Hunter Biden did not. I know Hunter Biden. I actually like Hunter Biden, but that's totally corrupt, and you know it. Why is it worse to ask about it than it is to do it?
Because people are dying on the front lines. You think it's a joke?
Why do I care? Why do I care what's going on in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? And I'm serious. Like, why do I care?
I'll tell you why.
And why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am?
Because those of us who are watching, myself, who think preserving democracy is important. When Dick Cheney said what the Russians did was an attack,
I don't care.
It was a warlike attack on the U.S., and I think if Donald Trump gets off the hook on this...
A few minutes later.
We're at time now. Before we go, earlier in the show, I noted that I was rooting for Russia in the contest between Russia and Ukraine. And of course, I'm joking. I'm only rooting for America.
The second point he makes is that Christians are treated better under Russia than Ukraine. This is easily disproven. Putin started a war that has killed so far around 200,000 people, 120,000 Russians and 70,000 Ukrainians. The wounded stand somewhere around 120,000 for Ukraine and 180,000 for Russia. These are really rough estimates since neither side releases numbers. 85% of Ukraine is Christian, and somewhere between 47 to 63% of Russia is Christian. And Putin is responsible for all these deaths of these Christians. Since Tucker cares so much about the treatment of Christians, it seems murder would be the highest form of oppression someone could give to a religious population. Thanks for watching. I'll be doing more videos on figures on both the right and the left. Subscribe. And check out my other channels, TV Anthology Reviews, where I review every episode of an anthology show, and Indigo Flow Productions, where I cover old school YouTubers.